I am moved and very happy to see you here in Burkina Faso since the events of the SNC. It is more than a pleasure that you have chosen to come here to Burkina. You have surely been told that it is a country frequentable. We told you that it's death here, it's war.
On vous a dit que c'est la mort ici, c'est la guerre. Il n'y a que du négatif.
There is only negative. We painted Burkina black here, only blood flows, weapons. This is what is said elsewhere. Thank God you arrived safely. You were able to be about the lasso, live with us, our culture, what binds us Africans. You were able to communicate.
Être à propos du lasso, vivre avec nous notre culture, ce qui nous lie, nous Africains.
With many other nationalities who came to celebrate with us, everything went very well. You are of our standing, and I hope that you are very well received, very well lodged, and that you managed to communicate with your brothers here. It is one important message that you send to. Everyone, and nay, you will be the ambassadors of this message when you return home, that Burkina is very frequentable. We live in Burkina Faso. What they want to make you believe that is not the Burkina is what he draws to get people to flee Burkina, and they depict all of.
C'est ce qu'il dessine pour amener les gens à fuir le Burkina. Et c'est toute l'Afrique qu'il dépeint comme ça.
Africa like that for them. Africa is misery, Africa is famine, Africa is war, which is responsible for these wars. We need to unite. But they have always been there to divide us to be able to reign better. Slavery our ancestors experienced. Until today we are fed up in our. Flesh, but it continues. The grandfather was deported, torture, and still, when they had their war we supported him. They paid us in monkey money. Others were killed when they tried to claim. Several of them died in their village. With the after effects of the war, never recognized the work of the African, our mission. It is first of all to awaken Africa, and who better than you from the diaspora, to make people understand what Africa is. When I see you united in this association, I feel even more proud, because it is all we ask for. Today our fight is to be able to unite, because united we are strong. To divide we are weak. They have always worked to divide us. I urge you to spread the message, so that Africa can unite. We have been lucky or unlucky enough to live through war for several years, and at one point we had to say enough is enough. We are fed up. We have taken our responsibilities, and we let us realize today more than ever that we were right to take our responsibilities. Because these armies were installed here, were never able at any time to monitor our territory, to see the terrorists who came to kill us, and leave with all the means they had. When we asked to leave today, we were able to acquire a good number of means which allows us to wage our war, and to ward off the threat, and to indicate, I would say, we were able to equip our forces and reconstitute our armies. They don't like that. Obviously, they will create other plans, but we are here and we will hold on thanks to you, who are far from them who support us. We will always stand because the African is resilience. We have suffered enough. The first thing you could do for Africa is to send the positive message. Enough looting, enough death. It is time that we unite and work. We only ask to live with dignity, to live free. Pass the message to awaken consciences. Some leaders always try to put their people to sleep and continue to pierce their people for the benefit of the West. This must stop. Who better than you to convey this message to the different people? Africa must wake up.
aux différents peuples. L'Afrique
Young
doit se
people must
réveiller.
wake up and
Les
no
jeunes
longer
doivent se
allow the
réveiller.
same policy
Il ne peut plus
continue. It
permettre
is
à
not
ce que
possible.
la
Africa
même
is still virgin.
politique
Everything is
continue.
business in
Ce n'est pas
Africa.
possible.
Look at how our cities are. We can also develop our health and education systems. We can develop everything. So in
Comment
this
nos villes
rich
sont. Nous pouvons aussi développer nos systèmes de santé,
diaspora,
d'éducation.
we have all the
Nous pouvons tout
specialties.
développer.
Today in
Voilà que dans
Burkina,
cette diaspora
we are
tant
thinking
riche,
about set
nous
up
avons
one
toutes les
university polytechnique
Aujourd'hui au Burkina,
just to train
nous sommes en train de
scientific
réfléchir à
engineers,
mettre en place
and I think you will be welcome to learn the second time, because as long as we do not
et je pense que vous serez les bienvenus pour
train the youth so that we ourselves can produce and transform here, on site we will always remain
Parce
slaves.
que tant que nous ne
Sovereignty
formerons
is
pas
all
la
together.
jeunesse,
We are fighting for
à ce que
food
nous
self-sufficiency.
puissions nous-mêmes
Those who can
produire et
invest
transformer
in the
ici sur place,
agro-food
nous
industry
resterons toujours
to
esclaves.
transform our products
La
here, you are
souveraineté, c'est tout un ensemble. Nous sommes en train de nous
welcome,
battre pour
producing
le
us everything here. Everything grows on our soils. We have experienced everything. After a year or so, everything grows in Burkina. Those who want to invest in agriculture are welcome. Those who want to invest in processing are welcome. Education, we want to
Tout pousse au Burkina. Ceux qui veulent investir dans
transform the
l'agriculture sont les
school,
bienvenus.
because the
Ceux qui veulent
formatting that we are
investir dans
currently
la
experiencing,
transformation sont les
it is from the school. They have channeled us, so that the intellectuals for the most part cannot think, get out of the furrows that they have a trace. Thank God the conscious ones are waking
de sorte que les intellectuels pour la plupart ne peuvent pas réfléchir, sortir des
up.
sillons qu'ils
We
ont
need
tracés.
more. We need to change the educational system. You are welcome. And there are many other paths. They were in plundering our wealth. Today we are regaining control. And we are never going to leave our wealth behind, because we want to live, we want to see our
Aujourd'hui, nous sommes en train de reprendre le contrôle.
children cared for, educated, grow up in peace and live in a healthy environment. So we are open, and you will be welcome in Africa to develop.
Et vivre dans un environnement sain. Donc, nous sommes ouverts et vous serez les bienvenus en Afrique pour développer votre continent.
Your continent,
pour
to
unir
unite your
votre
continent,
continent.
and to pass on the message of this unity. It is very important. Continue to pass on the message, so that the young people wake up, who no longer leaves us leaders, to make slaves for others. This should not be allowed. There are
Les esclaves pour les autres. Ça ne doit pas être permis. Il y a certains pays aujourd'hui où nous avons envie de passer des
certain
messages.
countries today where we want to send messages, but I think that your voices carry even more because you are ambassadors. Wherever you are, whether in America, in Europe, your Caribbean, you are ambassadors. And when you speak, it can wake you up, and I urge you
Et je vous exhorte à parler. C'est la mission que je vous confie pour réveiller le continent. Bon séjour à
to
vous.
speak. This is the mission that I entrust to you.
Being here in the country of the upright man is a dream come true. To President Traore, the reincarnation of Thomas Sankara President Traore, who has led the struggle to complete the unfinished business that was started by our ancestors and our Pan-African leaders in 1963 when they created the Organization of African Unity. During that meeting, they demanded the creation of an Africa that spoke with one voice, an Africa that was united. That journey is yet to be finished. What is happening in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, is just the beginning of a revolution that is way past due for Africa. Africa must unite. And Burkina Faso has shown us the way. They have opened the doors. They have shown us that the bully can be defeated. That no more shall we continue to give up our lunch. That we too need to eat. And therefore, there is no negotiating with the bully. The bully had to go, and Burkina Faso showed us how to do it. So, Mr. President, I bring you your children, descendants of the formerly enslaved. They have waited over 400 years to return the spirits of their ancestors back home to Africa. When the children of Africa were taken out of Africa as slaves, all they ever wanted to do was to come back home to Africa. Each and every one of them that you see, many of them are coming to Africa for the first time. They're bringing with them the spirits of their ancestors to put them to rest here in Burkina Faso. And that's mission number one. Mission number two, we have watched you, Mr. President. You stand for everything that we have hoped for in an African man. Courageous, fearless, and in their faces. France, unapologetically, you told France, pack your bags and go home. You, Mr. President, and the people of Burkina Faso have done it, and we have a responsibility to support you. You have over 300 million African diaspora who are looking up to you. We are here to show you that we are with you. We support you. We are behind you. And we will not let you down. Many of us were told, don't go to Burkina Faso. It's a war-torn country. Guns all over the street. Mr. President, we want you to know that the more they told us not to go to Burkina Faso, the more we ran to Burkina Faso. No one tells them not to go to Europe, to their countries of origin. Therefore, no one will tell us not to come home to Burkina Faso. So mission number two is to let you, Mr. President, know that you and the citizens of Burkina Faso have done all the heavy lifting. The least we can do is to support you. So we are here. Our third mission is to see what can we do, Mr. President, to play our part in building the Burkina Faso we want.
There is something Ibrahim Traore, Captain Ibrahim Traore, the Burkina Faso president, is speaking about in that video. And maybe I may just need to explain for you what was happening there. There is members of the diaspora community based in the United States of America that wanted to fly to Burkina Faso. And the US issued travel advisory against them going to that country because the West has been against the junta rule in Burkina Faso. And they were told all manner of stories about the country and that it is going to be very violent and it's a place that does not enjoy peace. And that is why you can't see the junta ruler there, Captain Ibrahim Traore, really elated by the fact that those members of diaspora community decided to defy all those other statements that have been said against Burkina Faso, and that they made their way to the South African country, to the South Africa-based country. And he speaks with a bit of that pan-Africanism, and is telling them things that I want us to pay attention to. And I've decided to pick the statement that Africa must rewrite its story. Africa must rewrite its story. That they tell you about so many things about the continent, and much of that when you come here, it's not the truth. I'm a very good consumer of international news. So I watch CNN, I watch BBC, I watch Fox and Al Jazeera. They're very good stories in this continent. They're very good stories in this country. But of course, I know quite a number of them have joined doing the Lord's work. But you will understand, they, under the guise of going for human interest stories, they plow the villages and look for the deep, deep negative stories about the continent, on how communities are suffering and are struggling. And that is part of the narrative telling that even the government is actually doing. And so that is what the Burkina Faso president is saying, that he doesn't buy that. And I realize that one thing is getting a lot of traction. Remember, quite a number of leaders or quite a number of democracies in the West do not appreciate military takeovers. They don't appreciate military establishments in Africa, because they come and they chase. You know, when military comes, the first thing they do is they chase those foreign military bases in those countries. But Traore has emerged as one of the most likened president. And by the way, if you look at even the way he's conducting himself, if you look at his motorcade, he's only having that one car. Now the guys and the security people around him. So he's trying to put Africa first. I remember this latest development where he decided to chop the salaries of civil servants, so that those civil servants and state officials, so that the public and the, not civil servants, but the government officials, so that civil servants could actually get salary increase. And on agriculture, there is something he did. He ensured that he bought tractors and gave to the people in the community. So there is everything to fancy from Ibrahim Traore. I was just reading the story about Thomas Sankara, that when he came to power, he really revitalized the economy of Burkina Faso. Within 2 years, even by the time he was being killed by the assailants, Sankara had really turned around the economy of the country. So in Burkina Faso, he's also talking about the things that are in Africa. He's saying we have the resources to change. We have the resources to change this narrative. But we've decided to listen to what the others are saying. And so that's why I want to say is, and I want to bring it back home, what is the narrative we are saying? What is the narrative we are selling about Kenya? What's the narrative we are selling about Kenya? The two recent trips, the one from the US, and currently the president is in South Korea, all of them have come with some concessional loans. And I think I just want to use the example of Kenya and Tanzania. In Kenya, we've got some 30 billion concessional loan. These are things that we've been asking for. When we talk in these summits we organize, we talk tough about this, the way we need these concessional loans. Kenya have gotten that concessional loan, and in exchange is opening its market for South Korea. South Korea looking for market for their products. In Tanzania, they've also gotten a concessional loan, and they're going to allow in return South Korea to be deep and get so much involved in the extraction of minerals in Tanzania. So you look at the give and take. When Africa goes to Europe, when Africa goes to West, and I want to say Kenya, when we go to the West, we go and ask for money. We go and ask for money. Look at AGOA. AGOA is packaged as opening the East African market. But if you listen to what Kagame said in Rwanda sometime, he said Rwanda was struck off AGOA because Rwanda said we are not going to give our country, we are not going to open market for second-hand clothes. And by making that statement, Rwanda was struck off that AGOA list. So the Africa must really, because there is something called looking for market for the products. What are we looking for market? Which products are we looking for market? The markets we're looking for these products, the products that we are trying to source market for are actually raw products, raw materials. We say we are going to look, then they bring processed, finished goods. When we sell our coffee grade 1, I was just saying, when we sell our grade 1, then grade 2 remains here, is packaged locally. Grade 1 goes there, it is processed, and then it is imported back to us. The same with the clothes. We can make clothes, we can make our textile industries here. But do you know we import clothes? So we export raw materials. After exporting raw materials, we import finished products at very high prices. Look at manufacturing, or let me look at industrialization. There are companies that have been established here. Companies manufacturing tanks, manufacturing plastics, those manufacturing, those that are manufacturing cement and this and that. Now, the raw materials used here is imported. They import the raw materials, and I think I listened to Traore saying, what is making them not to, that raw material, what is making them not to manufacture it here? They know how to make it. They know how to make it. Why don't they set up the factory that manufactures that same raw material? Because what is there in Europe that they can't find around? So you will actually understand the sense of not selling the African story. The African president, William Ruto, goes to US and Korea asking for money. Give me money, I want to give IBC. Give me money, I want to fight corruption. Give me money, I want to do capacity building for police. Give me money, I want to do this. But when you ask for money, then they don't ask for money. They don't need money. What they ask is, open up your gates. Open up your country. We want to bring this. Give us a space. We want to establish a military base. I was just reading a story, a Bangladesh, that during just concluded Bangladesh elections, that US asked the Bangladesh, the president who was vying there, seeking incumbent, who was seeking the election, that just allow us to establish an air base in Bangladesh, then you will not have a problem in your election. You will not have a hassle in your election. So this is what we are saying. The scramble, the search, the begging for the dollars is what is creating benevolence. That's what he's saying. We must tell the story so that we bargain. Otherwise, we go to Europe and we sell benevolence. You know, help us, this. And I think that has really given us a very bad stake in the bargain. Number two, and I want to use Kenya. Kenya prides itself of association with the established democracies. But those established democracies have a big stake on perpetuation of power in the continent. So we've told a wrong story. We've told a wrong story that we are going to have an election. Support me. Make sure I find my way. Because if we don't elect, if I elect the other person, I will tweak these policies in your favor. That's why we are allowing the GMOs in the country. That's why even entertaining the LGBTQ discussion in the country, something against even the African morals. And that is why we need to think different. Instead of scrambling for power, you scramble for presidency at whichever cost, because with that, I am going to make my way. And look at the president, the Equatorial Guinea. I shared that story in this channel. a president, Nguema, and his son being the vice president. Look at that. And then when he was in the country, he was given some military protection by the Kenya Air Force. Kenya Air Force protected. Hey, well, here we even struggling with the choppers. So we have a problem and what the Europe is really taking advantage of is African leaders' appetite for power. In US there is election. In India there is election. In South Africa there is election. I think I've seen the one for India is also, I think it's also a parliamentary one. It's not that much contested. Look at South Africa. It's a parliamentary one. It's highly contested. They're now moving to form, they're going to form a coalition government because ANC have not clinched the required figures to form government. But what are we seeing? We have a situation where, oh, I want to be president. So elect me, make sure I get it. We are telling the wrong story. Number 3 is there is emphasis on continental free trade area, accessing the foreign market. But even the market locally here, just divided by the borders, have not been exploited. And this issue of Africa bargaining, I listened to them saying, I think Traore was saying there, that in European Union, they bargain as European Union. So they have a bigger bargain. But in Africa, like now Korea as a country has summoned 54 African presidents. I think only 30 have turned up for that meeting. They've summoned 30. One president. When we were saying it was not it. I think I agree with Traore that Africa must redefine and change its story. If you don't change the story, then we still meander around. We'll still organize summits, move from one country to the other and talk about, make poetic speeches about what is right and what is wrong in the continent. But without tangible actions on ground, I think there is much to be done. Thank you.